one of the biggest, I guess, like philosophical shifts is how we approach failure in class. So what I tell my students is not only are they going to fail in my class, I encourage them to fail. In fact, I say failure is mandatory in my classes. You must fail in this class because failing and then figuring out why you failed is the only way people actually get better. Because and this is on the law enforcement side, and we've all seen it, like how many of you guys, like when you're talking to a student about their target, how often do you hear like, so what happened on that one? They're like, oh, I shot too fast. Like we've all heard that, right? Like, is that really what's going wrong? They shot too fast? No, that's not what's happening. Something else happened. So we're using that speed, forcing them to shoot fast, forcing them to shoot aggressively to expose what the failure is. Shooting too fast is never the problem. Well, it can be, we'll talk about that in a second, but like, it's not about shooting too fast, it's that speed just exposed a bad habit that you have, right? So that's a little bit of a different approach. Like the shit, like having somebody sign their miss, like I saw an instructor, it was on a YouTube video, he had a student missed out of it was like a paper target, it was like a VTAC target paper with a silhouette on it, and he had one off the silhouette, and that instructor said, like write a little girl's name next to your miss because that's what just happened. Like, shut the fuck up. It's so fucking stupid. Like, we should be encouraging our students to fail because the range is where we do that, right? So, no, like, to expect some zero failure mentality, but that's law enforcement training, right? Because it's always training for the qual. But we already talked about that. When all you do is emphasize accuracy, when you have to call up the speed, your skills aren't there, right? Like I think a good analogy, especially for LE, because most of them have been through a driving course at some point, is when you go through a driving course, any of you guys that have done it when we went to Gypstick, like how much time did you spend going around the track at 45 miles an hour? Not very much. Like, and if you guys see something, like I went to a driving school a few years ago where we were doing pit stuff and I was sitting in the passenger seat, and my instructor had a cigarette in one hand, a radio in the other, and was pitting students with his knee at 120 miles an hour. Like, just, it's because he was used to going at that speed, he was comfortable with it. If all we do is go, like law enforcement training, you're going around the track at 35 miles an hour. When you're asked to drive fast, you're not gonna have the skills to do it. So we focus on the speed, and then by exposing all those mistakes and cleaning that up, that's what brings the accuracy up. So I think it's like, and I know it's our whole seal and everything, like the balance of speed and accuracy. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. Speed and accuracy are only, like they're only in balance because we're imperfect human beings. Like, we're gonna make mistakes, but we can have both, and we have to have both. Like we have to expect that out of ourselves. Just the accuracy isn't enough. So next thing we're gonna do, this last kind of drill, I guess. It's not really a drill, but this last thing we're gonna do, this last block, is basically how I finish out day one. So come on down for me.
Yeah.
So, last thing we're going to talk about is we kind of started with shooting basically the gun as aggressively as we could, right? Shooting doubles, figuring out the bad habits that we have, and then kind of fixing those things. Now we're going to talk about actually using, like seeing our sights, what kind of information we need from our sights. So the levels of confirmation, you'll hear this articulated a bunch of different ways. The kind of like standard right now is 3 levels of confirmation. Confirmation level 1 is I'm basically just getting body alignment with the target. I'm just looking at where I want bullets to go. I present the gun, all right? So that would be something like if Larry and I are in an elevator together and he gets froggy and I gotta bring my gun out, like how much information do I need from my sights to be successful at elevator distance?
None.
Basically none, right? I can basically close my eyes and kind of get away with it. But now that engagement is at 40 yards, now how much information do I need from my sights? A lot more, right? So really it's called levels, but think about it more of a spectrum. That's really kind of what's actually happening. But level 1 is just that body alignment. Number 2 is what I'm looking for on presentation is a flash of my sight. So I'm on the first shot, I look at where I want bullets to go, I present the gun, and as soon as I see that flash of red on where I want bullets to go, I'm sending it. And then for subsequent shots, basically what I'm gonna see that dot doing is it's just gonna look like a bouncing ball. It's just gonna be kind of streaking on the target. And as long as that streak is on where I want bullets to go, I'm gonna continue to send it until the problem goes away. Level 3, the highest level of confirmation, is I wanna see a stop, still, stable dot, right? So again, it's more of a spectrum, but those are kind of the 3 like base layers. So how much information I need for my sights is going to depend on the difficulty of the target. How large is the target, how far away is it, and what is the risk of not hitting that target. So if it's a hostage shot, for example, small target, all right, and a very high risk, if I don't get a good hit, I need a lot of confirmation from that. Bad breath distance, nothing in the background, low risk, then I'm just gonna rip it and send it, right? So what we're gonna do now is I'm basically gonna demo all 3 of those levels of confirmation at 3 different distances, and we're gonna see what's an acceptable level of information for each like target difficulty.
One of the things I tell students is size of the target, distance to the target, and shooter capability. Right? So that will help you. That's
One of the things I do, I put up a silhouette target, I put number 1 here, number 2 at the head, and put a pace with number 3.
That's a great one.
And I call off the sequence they have to shoot it in. I tell them different confirmations and different distance, different size targets.
Yep.
And I just mix up the 3-2-1, 1-2-3,
Yeah.
3-2, 3-1-2, and mix it up and make it shoot.
And this is something like when we get into failure drills, you can bring that up again as well. Like for body shots at 7 yards on a failure drill, how much information do you need from your sights? Not much. I'm gonna look at where I want bullets to go. I see a flash of red and I'm gonna smash 2. But when I transition my eyes to the head, I might need a little bit more information. So for me, like between 2 and 2.5, or excuse me, 2 and 3 is like 2.5. And the way I'm looking at that is like, I want to see a dot. It doesn't need to be stopped and still and stable, but if it's like kind of like this, like it's moving, but it's in an acceptable hit area, then I'm going to send it, right? So I'll start, I'm going to start with the 3, so eyes and ears, guys. And so the way I do this, it's 5 rounds per iteration. So the first one is just going to be, have you run the timer. So first, I'll just go find myself, that's fine. I don't know, thanks, Chris. All right, so first one is from 3 yards. And I'm gonna start with confirmation 1. So just body alignment. I'm ripping the gun out, again, the vision doesn't change. I'm anchoring my eyes to that small spot, but as soon as the gun is level, I'm sending it. Stand by. Level 2 is I'm looking for a flash of color and then just seeing that dot, streaking in where I want bullets to go. You guys are gonna see the gun never really settles. It's as soon as it returns, it's gonna come right back up. Stand by. So let's look at the difference between the 2. Like, yeah, I opened up a little bit there. I ended up staring at the dot a little bit, so it tracked a little bit high. But between the 2, like, how much accuracy or accountability did I lose just ripping the gun out, pressing the trigger as fast as I could? Like not much. Like the outcome is almost identical. But what do you think I gained in time? A fuck ton, right? Let's kind of go now to the extreme. And now I'm gonna go confirmation 3, stop, still, stable, dot, every time I press the trigger. What's the difference outcome-wise as far as accuracy is concerned? Nothing. What about the time though? Took a fuck ton more time, right? So obviously it will feel silly. It should feel silly at 3 yards. So now let's go back to So now, again, we'll do that confirmation 1.
Stand by. Stand by.
And then level 3, stop still, stable dot, each shot.
Stand by.
Right, and then back to 25. That's the right target.
Stand by.
So what I tell the students is like, this is not prescriptive. I'm not telling you what the appropriate amount of information from your sites is. This is and you guys probably noticed like when we were doing the doubles and the baby drills, like this is all exploratory, right? I'm trying to get them to understand what is appropriate for them. Like again, like Chris said, and that's good. Yeah, distance, size of the target, the risk, and the shooter's capability. What do you need to see to be successful at a given distance and target difficulty? Does that make sense to everybody? All right. So, of those though, like what seemed appropriate at each yard line? Right. At 3 yards, was level 3 seeing a stop still stable dot each time appropriate? Probably not. Right. At 25, was ripping the gun out and sending it appropriate? Probably not. So again, I'm not being prescriptive. I'm not telling you what you need to see. All right, this is just a chance for us to kind of explore it a little bit. So the way that I run this is it's 3 full loadouts. So they'll do a magazine of each confirmation level at each yard line. So they'll do a magazine of level 1, level 2, and level 3 at the 3. Same thing at the 10, 12, and then same thing at the 25. So it ends up being 3 full loadouts. So we'll go ahead and we'll just do 1 loadout on this though. So I'll just have you do 1 iteration for each one at each yard line.
Hey, John, and again, are you refacing from each yard line?
Yeah, we'll go down and we'll check targets for each
Or
yard line.
pasting?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, because I want them to see like, okay, because like at the 25, they're not going to be able to see unless we come down and take a look at it. Or I start with confirmation 1. All right, so just that body alignment. And as soon as the gun is level, send it. Yeah, it's going to be 5 rounds. 5 rounds. All right, shooters ready. Stand by. All right, guys, next is going to be confirmation 2. So you're looking for a flash of color. As soon as you see a flash of color, we're going to just maintain that streak on the target. As long as that streak stays inside the acceptable hit area, we're going to send it. 5 rounds. Stand by. All right, guys, and finally, confirmation level 3. So a stopped, still, stable dot for each shot. For each shot, it should feel super fucking stupid at the 3. Stand by. Jam up. Rip it, rip it. Stand by. All right, level 2, looking for that flash of color and just shoot the streak. Stand by. And finally, level 3, so stop still, stable dot for each shot. Stand by. 5. All right, level 2. All right, flash your colors, shoot the street. Stand by. All right, guys, finally stop still, stable dot for each shot. Stand by. All right, guys, that's all I have as far as range stuff. So real quick before we do anything else, let's just go ahead and unload show clear real quick. So level 2 is I'm staring at a small spot, and as soon as I see that color flash, bang, and then I'm just gonna, as long as that dot is streaking in an acceptable area, I'm gonna keep sending it. That would be level 2, whereas 3 would be dot, press, every time. Does that make sense?
I think for like, I know in like my after action reviews with students, this is when they're like, I think I've been shooting, like I've been over confirmed. This is like
Yep.
a really good
Level 3 all the
exposure.
time.
Is they're like, I'm level 3 all the time, and I didn't realize I was doing it. And
Yeah.
then it's like, I realized that I can see a lot less,
Yep.
and this is when they're like, I can see a whole lot less than I can, and the shot me where I want us to.
And when I demo it, I always do it on a timer,
Yep,
so
I
they
can
can
see
see,
that. Yeah.
okay, at, the 3-yard line, like, again, the accuracy outcome for all 3 of those was basically the same, but the time difference was massive,
Yeah.
right? So we can show them, like, hey, the speed is part of this. We can't just be accurate. We have to be fast as well. Now, to that point, one thing I tell my students is you are not allowed ever again to say, I shot too fast or I shot too slow. All right, that is not the terms that we should be thinking about this. The terms that we need to think about it is, I saw too much, I overconfirmed, I didn't see enough, or I saw exactly what I needed to see. Right? So it's not about, don't think about it because the speed is just like, it's just a number on a timer. What we're looking for is, do you understand how much information you need in order to be successful for the shot that you're being asked to take? Larry, you got anything to add? Chris? Aaron? Anybody else? Anything? So what I'd like to do, guys, is head back into the classroom that we just presented. Any potential issues that you see, anything that needs to be clarified, anything you guys got?
So we need to make sure that when we're running the drills, that we know the skills that are trying to be pulled out from that particular drill. Not just run the drill for shits and giggles, but you gotta know the skill that it's bringing out.
100%. So, like I kind of started to say it while we were in there, is like the what drills do we shoot approach, I think, is backwards. It's what is the concept that we're trying to relay, and then we just find the drill that's appropriate to relay that information. Like if we want to teach transitions, it would be kind of stupid to do a build drill, for example. Like we just have to pick drills that are going to support the concept that we're trying to articulate, or draw out the problem or the habit that we're trying to identify. Like for example, if we're trying to see if somebody has a consistent grip, then a build drill would be appropriate, right? Because 6 rounds as fast as you can, press the trigger, like that's going to pressure test your grip to see if your grip holds together during that stream of fire. It will pressure test your vision. Like that's the way I think that we need to approach it more, is not what drill are we doing, and because that's kind of how the OC is now. It's we go from this thing to this thing to this thing to this thing. There's really no progression to it. Whereas doing it this way, like everything just stacks on top of the thing that we did before. I think it's a better approach, in my opinion.
John, just because we didn't really cover it or anything, I do think it builds on everything else. Why don't you go ahead and just kind of go over Start from Perfect, because I'm sure not everyone has seen Start from Perfect.
I just noticed there's a typo. God, all right, so Start from Perfect. So the first of all, like the importance of this is building an index. So the way I define index is wherever I'm looking, when I present the gun or when I bring the gun in front of my face, the dot shows up exactly where my eyes are, right? Same thing on draws, on transitions. If I look to a spot, I bring the gun up, the dot arrives precisely where my eyes are pointed, where I want bullets to go. That's your index. So like the common thing that people bring up with the dot is like new dot shooters is, the question is, well, how do I find the dot? You find the dot by not looking for the dot, because the problem with like all this stupid like drop the dot in from 12 or bring it up from 6 or all these like tricks to find the dot. Well, when you're looking for the dot, once you find it, what are you gonna stare at? The dot, because like once you find it, you're like, oh, gotcha, bitch, and then you end up staring at it the whole time. And obviously, we don't want to do that. What we need to do is actually develop that index, and there's no shortcut to that. It's just repetition. One thing that I have found helpful though is what I saw this from a guy named Matt Graham a few years ago, and basically the idea is that I'm gonna start from like what I would define as perfect. Like my posture is exactly what I want, my grip is exactly what I want. All right, I'm staring at a small spot on the target, my dot's right on top of it. Like this is, if you have all the time in the world to set up for a shot, what would that look like? That's what I want. Okay, there I am. I'm going to deliberately work my way back to the holster, and then as soon as I hit the holster, I'm gonna immediately reverse it back out and do a full presentation. And I found that's really helpful in getting people to start to build that index, because they're starting from what right looks like and then kind of deconstructing it, working their way backwards. I have them do, and I do it dry. I don't do any live rounds on that because I don't think it's necessary. I have them do that for like 10, 15 minutes. And by the end of it, they're all seeing the dot every time, because all they're doing is basically drawing the gun in reverse and then drawing it back out and just, again, building that index. Now, they're not gonna, like, they don't own that index forever, but they'll, you know, like that's, again, something that has to be done like in their dry fire in their own practice over time. Yes, ma'am?
Okay, so you said that like, obviously, they're not gonna be able to have that perfect index, and to not hunt for the dot, to not do any like tips or tricks as far as like quote unquote finding the dot. But even after, I mean, because I've had some students that even after doing start from perfect, then as the day progresses, it's like, man, I'm still sometimes like, I'm still not finding the dot. Like the dot is still not coming up, especially for my brand new dot shooter. So it's kind of like, what do you tell them?
One of the things I've found with that is you don't have the dropping your head down.
Yep.
Your head's moving down, your gun's moving up. And
Yeah.
if you keep
Yep.
your head still,
Yeah.
bring the gun up to your eyes.
But I still, I mean, but even if they're not moving their head or neck or anything like that, they still, when they present out, even if it's just from kind of like a high, just indexing from here, sometimes they're coming out like this. So
I think this is when we show them different stuff.
do you tell them like, hey, sometimes, because most of the time it's muzzle high, and I talk about that. It's like for the most part, usually they're probably muzzle high. So just sometimes bringing the muzzle down usually has it flash through the
Right, and that will get them through that iteration of that drill in that moment, but that doesn't help them going forward. So what I tell them is, and I do this when I'm explaining start from perfect, I'm like, if the dot shows, like when you come back to the holster and then reverse it back out, if the dot shows up exactly where you're looking, that's a good rep, awesome. All right, remember what that feels like. If it doesn't, don't fish for it, assess what changed. Because something had to change, right? Because you went from perfect, the dot was where your eyes were, you came back to the holster and you brought it back out. If the dot isn't there, that means you changed something. Either, Lynn's right, that's a super common one, shoulders come up and head comes down, or their grip changed, something changed. So I want them to, in that moment, assess, okay, what changed? What is different? What feels not perfect like I just found before?
One with that too, I think a lot of that one is honestly vision a lot of times, because what a lot of people don't realize is like John talks about it, if we're anchored to the target, you're gonna drive the dot there, and that's gonna help align the gun. A lot of times when people's eyes go to the gun, they're not gonna fully
Yeah.
align it because they haven't finished the alignment of the dot to the gun. So that's the first thing, is like, hey, where's your vision? Because the moment they start fishing for the dot, where's their eyes? There, it's immediately on the gun. So if, other than muzzle down, I guess a mental cue for me is kind of making sure they're staying anchored to the reference spot, because a lot of, I feel a lot of times is because they immediately just stare at the gun and they don't finish the alignment of the muzzle to the spot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I had Aaron, and I think we actually talked about this. I had a student, I did a IW a few months ago, and I had a student, like all hitters in that class except for one guy, and he was like he was a university police officer, and he was like, I wish you had told us more in the debrief. He said, I wish you had told us more about how to find the dot. I was like, my brother in Christ, we just did that for 2 days. And I was like, there's no trick to finding the dot, you just have to build an index. And he said, well, I know some of the guys at my agency aren't gonna practice this stuff, so for those guys, what are some tricks to find the dot? I'm like, dude, if they're not gonna practice it, then I can't help you. Like, they're just gonna have to, again, when their number gets pulled, they're gonna go into it with whatever habits they currently have. And if their habit is, I don't give a shit about this, I just shoot this gun to keep my job, then like, I don't have anything for it. Like, sorry, like, good luck, I guess.
What I would tell our people like that is they get a couple red guns, put red dots on them, make them go dry fire during their shift. Make them do it. It's required. You gotta go in there and do that. If you don't do it, you're getting written up.
They don't get paid to dry fire, Lynn.
Well,
Which,
I know.
but that's, I've heard that.
But
Like, I
10
don't get paid
minutes-
to dry fire.
10 minutes, once a week.
Yeah.
It's job related, they can't grieve it, just make them do it. Make them go in there and do it.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, none of us
I mean,
identify with
If you
that
aren't gonna do
mentality,
that,
but.
if that is a solution.
But
to
that's
that,
the problem
yeah.
with, with the varying skill levels. I mean, some people come in order to learn, some people come just to simply take up fucking space. And that was a guy, obviously,
Yeah.
he just came to take up space, and there's nothing we can do about that. You
Yeah.
put your best foot forward, we come to teach, others come to learn, and then some come to fucking take up space.
Yeah.
And those come to take up space, you done your job, that's all you can do.
What else?
What's the accelerator drill?
Accelerator is a target at 5 yards, a target at 15 yards, and a target at 25 yards. And you basically set them up so that they're basically, from your perspective, edge to edge. So it's more about, not really lateral transitions, but transitioning focal depth.
It's like the 5 o'clock on the just self-match. Kind of staggered targets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and it's, that's a good one for like doing confirmation levels as well. We bring the confirmation levels back into it, because the 5 yard target, you can rip that pretty much level 1 all day long. The 15 yard target, you're gonna need a little bit more information. The back target, you're gonna need a little bit more information. So going like, you can kind of set that up. It's not really a confirmation drill, but you can kind of bring that like, hey, here's how that application works. But I think and that's obviously gonna be set up, like range setup dependent. If you
Distances on the targets, sorry.
it doesn't really matter, but 5, 15, 25 is that's the standard for that drill. If you're at a range that they can't do it, then you can't do it. But unfortunately, there's no really other way to do focal depth changes. I mean, it just kind of is what it is.
It's basically like, the drill we did with Shane, with like, where you had the steel in the back and then
Right.
the paper, it's very similar
If
to
you
that.
shoot just yourself, you get a lot of that type of stuff.
Not like John said, a lot of ranges, you're not gonna be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been
But if
able
you
to
can't,
do it.
but if you can, it's a great drill. So
Yeah, yeah.
a couple of things that exposes is, one, like, especially on the back target, because I have them shoot it both near to far and far to near, because some shooters have an easier time going one way and have a harder time doing the other, whatever it is. Like for me, it's easier to start on the far target and work up, as opposed to like, it's harder for me to start on a fast open target and throttle down. So like I generally have a pretty messy back target. And that's just exposing, again, like seeing the appropriate amount of information for the shot you're taking, and then pressing the trigger appropriately. Like Larry says how he articulates it, a controlled versus like an aggressive or accelerated trigger press. Like obviously up close, fast, open stuff, accelerated trigger press, no big deal. On something like a 25-yard target where you want to keep them all into A, it's got to be a little bit more careful. So like, I really like accelerator. That one.
What was your round count be like when you were running that accelerator drill?
It's built into it.
It's built into it now.
It's built into it.
Yeah.
So if I can't do the accelerator just with range limitations, I just allocate that ammo somewhere.
Or are you asking like what is the round count
What's
for?
like
Two,
your
two,
course of fire?
two.
We're gonna do
Oh,
the accelerator drill. You
it's-
shoot one round each target?
Oh.
Two on
Two
each.
rounds each target?
Yeah,
You're
so
doing-
it's 6 rounds.
Okay.
And again, that's where the shot chart kind of layers onto that as well, because you'll still see dragging on, dragging off in
Yep.
there and all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the shot chart, and Larry and I have talked about this a lot. It's like everything, every layer that you add just adds layers to the shot chart. So like when we do target transitions, the shot chart still applies for each shot, but also you add on, dragging off. And then when we get into movement, the shot chart still applies, but now there's other stuff, like, so every layer you add adds layers to that shot chart. That's just kind of like the baseline. Yeah.
When you do the accelerator, do you bring up like hit factor as another way to evaluate each other? Like, cause you talk about practical shooting.
I don't really talk about hit factor all that much, and it's because like the standards, we don't use hit factor. It depends on the class. I have had classes where I talk about hit factor. There's ones that I don't, because like that one I don't individually time it. So like if you have the time and space, like I would love to I would love our standard speed hit factor base, but that's not where we're at. So there's not. So, but that would be a good time to talk.
Cause most, like, police agencies, it's always the top, like, it's a 2-second penalty or a half-second penalty.
Yeah.
And you bring up hit factor and they're like, oh shit, like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would love like for everything to be a hit factor, but like it's gotta be, and that's why agencies don't really do it, cause everything has to be individually timed, so they do everything. Like obviously, most quals are part-time based, so. But yeah, that'd be a good time to talk about it. So anything else on what we did today on day one stuff? So if you guys look at the sheet, day 2 is basically, so this is, on day 2, this is where if I do find that for that class, reloads or malfunctions are necessary, I wait until day 2 to do it. The reason I do that is, like, on day 1, I'm just trying to get everybody to understand the concepts and get to understanding what right feels like. So I don't, and I know this is something that Larry and I don't necessarily agree on this point specifically, like, whatever, but my approach is, I try to take the mechanics out of day 1. I just want them to focus on the shooting. Like, that's why I said for doubles, I'm not assessing your draw right now. I don't care that we're not working on the draw. I just want you to get a grip that you like so that you know what it's supposed to feel like when you're doing your doubles. I want them to understand what right feels like first, and then try to find that coming out of the holster. But to Larry's point, one reason he does like introducing like an aggressive draw with doubles is adding in aggressive mechanics can induce failures that we wouldn't see otherwise. So like there's totally value in it. I think it's a difference in approach. I don't think there's a wrong way to do it. I guess it's whatever you vibe with. But that being said, reloads, malfunctions, if they are necessary, I think the morning of day 2 is a good time to do it. A good warm up, they're fresh, I think that'd be a good time to do it. Failure drills, and this kind of like failure drills is where I always talk about this. Going back to what I was talking about earlier with like not approaching it from what drill are we gonna do, it's what concept are we trying to get out. Now let's find the drill that's appropriate to that. I think failure drills is a really good example of this, because like every time we talk about failure drills, what does everybody say? Like, why do we shoot failure drills?
Non-desired response.
because they're wearing body armor, they're on drug, like, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, to me, failure, like, drills should not be a solution to a real world problem, right? All drills are is just they set the conditions for you to fail at the thing that you're trying to test. So to me, a failure drill is not about body armor, it's not about drugs, it's about moving my eyes from one spot to another spot. That's it, it's just a target transition, right? So I'm not trying to like, I think Matt Prankus said this, like, I'm not building a Rolodex of real world scenarios in my head. And then if I have to shoot a failure drill in real life, I'm like flipping through, okay, oh, 2 to the body, 1 to the head, like, we're not doing that. We're just, again, setting the conditions to test what we're trying to test in that given moment. So I always like to bring that up with failure drills. Multi-target engagements. One thing I do for this one that I don't know if anybody else does this, I have them, so like for me, transitions, just like reloads, malfunctions, and draws is dead space time that we should be shooting that we're not. So I really like to get them to push speed on the transition itself, try to make that reload as quick as they can make it. And one thing I do for that is if I'm doing 2 on each target, so 4 rounds total, I'll have them start with a 4-round rhythm drill on a single target, and then I'll force them to keep that pace across both targets. And the reason for that is getting them to move their eyes quicker, get their eyes and gun on the next target sooner, and try to collapse that as much as possible. Because again, any time that it takes me to transition is time that target 2 should be getting shot and isn't. So I try to make that as, we want to make that quicker. But the problem with that is I'll tell them like, hey, if you shoot your 4-round rhythm drill, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have to keep that across both targets, we'll inevitably hear 1, 2, 3, 4, because they don't want to miss. So instead of like applying that, hey, I'm trying to collapse that transition as much as I can and accept failure when it happens, nobody wants to fail, and that's when we talk about like getting out of that 0 failure mentality that we talked about. Box drills, same. Accelerator, we just talked about that. Single-handed, shooting on the move, multiple targets while moving, box drills moving, and then the standard. So day 2 is probably pretty on track for what's already on the schedule. Do you have anything? Just gossiping back there. You girls.
Say you girls.
I'm off in law, and I'm doing, you been speaking?
Hurt your feelings there.
Anything?
I like the flow of it. It's what I wanted, what we wanted marking out, so I like the flow of it, the first day, I like the way it flowed. I mean, all about shooting, knowing the how and the why. What am I doing wrong? How can I get better? What can I do to fix me? I tell people, I said, the gun is never a bad influence on me. I'm always a bad influence on the gun. So that first day is about finding what type of bad influence am I being on my pistol. So I like that.
John, I'd like to see you and Lou and Eric kind of give me that list of where these fundamentals line up with all these things that you've done, like I talked about with your drill set.
Mm-hmm.
And also, kind of like you did out there, you were very articulate in why we do this. This is why you're not building drills for, like you said, they're not for real world application. They're for focusing on what you need to improve upon or show your Christian. Why are we doing this drill? What does this drill show me? And if there are errors, these are going to be the errors, and how can I correct? And how do I guide my students to self-correct? That would be important in this build out that we can then share with the entire team. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like basically a drill sheet for.
Well, I think eventually what I'd like to do is build a whole drill sheet. But I think, like I said before, Larry's going to use a different drill than you are. I don't mind that. I just say, here's the drill. Let's get a core group of ideas together that meet this competency and I'm fine. Larry's shooting different drills, cause Larry just doesn't like you, he wants to use certain drills, that's Larry. But, that's fine, but that, you know, we wanna make sure that that drill, I can explain why we're using this drill, but I think it's helped out that we did it today, so that was cute. Comments, changes, thoughts, are we going the right direction here? So this is key to me, guys, I want y'all's investment, right? One man does not make a team, and while I can do stupid admin policy,
The same, you know, same track, we're gonna be good.
what do you think about building a J drive drill repository? Is that gonna be beneficial?
We got drills
Yeah, the
on the
drill
J drive
cards.
that we put together, but a lot of that stuff is old and outdated, man, it's just, you know what I
I'd
mean?
like,
The old stuff in the book.
Do you wanna talk about
Yeah.
March?
you wanna
do
build,
the same thing, huh?
well, we got 4 other things to do. Do you wanna build out a drive or a folder within that are 2025 and beyond type drills?
Yeah, we could definitely do that. I think, like, I know, I've got some documents I've been working on. I know John's got some stuff, so we can start off by kind of putting that stuff out there. And then we'll start to consolidate it. And then, that was one thing I was gonna ask. Has anyone seen any other drill, like, things or concepts that are in line with some of the stuff that, like, we haven't really talked about? Or is it this, like, everything was kind of, no? Alright, so, yeah, we'll work on that, we'll try and get some drill cards, like I said. I'll, that document I gave you, again, that's just one that that's my similar concepts, the way I articulate it. I'll make sure to get that digits, so you guys can have that as well on digits. And then, you already got John's stuff, and we'll put it in the.
So, Mark, on that, like, if we do a drill card for each of these, and I list like, you know, like what fundamentals this is working on, would that meet your
Yeah, that's
needs?
really all I'm looking for, right?
Okay.
I mean, for me, it's like,
That's
I
it.
want, I want to be able to have somewhere, and it's not meeting my, I mean, obviously, I can look at any one of your lesson plans and say, this is why they're hitting this fundamental, this is where they're hitting this fundamental. I wanna be able to have this in perpetuity where I can give it to the next guy up, the next guy up, the next guy up, and he may not be the best, this, that, and the other, but he can take that drill sheet and say, okay, I see what the guys have done in the past. I may have 2 or 3 things, let's run it by there, boom, off we go, but I just wanna make sure everybody has that playbook that they can reference.
I mean, I think they're all gonna say grip vision and trigger on them, but.
All of the routine things, right? I call it
Yeah.
the routine things. You know,
We didn't talk about
routine
breathing,
things.
but
The baby drills.
What are we doing in the classroom?
Just the PowerPoint.
as little as possible.
You do class-
Yeah, I think the PowerPoint can even stay the same almost, all the basics.
30 minutes.
all the-
Mark, I was confused on the training meeting in March, are we doing one, or is that in flux?
That's in flux.
Okay.
I'd still like, but I think if we can show like what your concept, I didn't even thought about your idea really about just doing an us meeting and just shooting. all the
I think like kind of what we did today, like doing that a whole week of kind of this, what I think would be super bit, like not just for the OC, but for LP, like I know we need to spend some time with low light, no light. I think it's been through, some people haven't even seen that.
Is
And
that
it's
gonna be
been,
able to be, we're gonna be able to do that in a week.
yeah, absolutely,
Coming in on Sunday, Monday, Friday.
Monday through Friday, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Alright, let's shoot for March, I'll set the dates, let's shoot for March doing that, that'll save us money.
Yeah, we just have to have a
Same
location.
week, we'll come in on a Sunday, Monday through Friday, bang out all these classes and rep them, so everybody's got exposure.
Are we looking at being here?
Probably so.
Okay.
I'm just saying for money,
Okay.
for expenses, probably be here.
You say here, you mean in the US.
No, I meant just
This
like,
range.
either one, like, are we gonna be at Dipstick, are we gonna be here?
I would say here.
Okay.
Unless I talk to Willie tomorrow and see if they'll throw us a bone and give us free.
Make the little light, no light.
Well, probably. 'cause-
They can't handle little light, no light down there, can they?
Yeah.
They can, but it might.
Yeah. In the dark.
We just can't do everyone on the range. It would be like 3 relays. 3 relays.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I mean, some of the, for some people
Yeah.
who are, I think it also, there are some who struggle with one set versus another, and then they can step up and be the shooters while the others are instructors. And everybody's gonna win there.
Cool.
Alright. Like you said, just, finalize that, thank you, John, thank you, guys, thank you, Jim. it is